Hello and happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. And we made it, both as a group and personally. I made it. It's been a long week. I am absolutely exhausted, but it's a Derby week. Thurby, to be exact. And, had a fun, eventful drive down here to get to Louisville. And, another man who's been doing a bit of traveling, although he went by air, Mr. Mark Capitan. Mark, did you fly business class down to
I
to
did
Florida?
not. I flew JetBlue Economy because I could get it direct into Fort Lauderdale. Buddy of ours is having his 40th birthday, and so we decided to do a little derby party in the Miami Fort Lauderdale area. Have this gigantic ass B&B where we're getting a bunch of people together tomorrow. I think most people get here tomorrow, and so just chilling out tonight, had some food, and yeah, nice trip. Weather's been gorgeous down here. Spent most of my day at Gulfstream Park, of all places that I didn't expect I'd be spending most of my day at, which was always an entertaining experience. And yeah, so I think things are good though. Things are good. Nice trip. A little weird. I wasn't flying business class. What the hell is that? You know?
Yeah, I mean, you're a Delta guy, right? So like, I was like surprised because like you kept on, before I had a I was given all the like basically the opportunity to come down here. I was going back and forth on how to get down to Florida because I was planning on going, and you kept on sending me Spirit flights, and I was like, man, he must be really desperate if he's sending me Spirit flights, like thinking I was going to fly Spirit anywhere. But
I
yeah,
was going cheap, Josh. I was going cheap. I figured inexpensive. We could get a little tease going on, Actually, coming out of Albany, to come down to this part of the country is a little hard. You always end up with a layover, and there's no quick, easy layovers. So it's just kind of a pain to get there. So instead of taking the layover, I got the direct out of Albany to Fort Lauderdale, which is not terrible.
yep. And now I'm gonna have to introduce somebody who's a bit of a celebrity. Especially if you
Yeah.
hang around, the horse racing Discord. Even though I don't know if he's posted in there in the last couple of years, but if you put a little $sign and whelp, well, he comes up. The man himself, the meme, Nick Seevers. Nick, how you doing, my friend?
I haven't traveled anywhere. I made it to my bedroom. My door just creaked open, so it was making a little bit of noise. I kicked my family out. I was like, I'm going to go for like 8 hours if we're talking about more than 4 races. I'm just going to keep talking. So, I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, it was just funny. Like I don't know, Mark. I feel like last year I came down here for a derby party, and it was funny because my friends who I'm staying with, they've hosted this derby party the last, I don't know, they said it's a number of years, like 6-7 years it had to be, and they're like, this feels really weird not to be just like in the middle of like the shit right now and like cooking for hundreds of people and all this stuff. And so they were leaving, so now I'm here all by myself. Mark, you generally do not leave the house for like big events. I mean, because everything comes to you, right? Everyone goes visits you for Saratoga. But Mark, I do have to bring one thing up. You went to one of our friends' favorite tracks today.
I did. I was at Gulfstream. Yeah. I mean, Gulfstream's always interesting because you can drive past Gulfstream and not realize there's actually a track there. Like it's in like a shopping mall, and all around it's like I literally pulled out the main entrance, took a right, and there's like a crate and barrel at the end of the first turn. Like it's just this weird sort of dichotomy But I was at Gulfstream. I was in the simulcast lounge. I watched 0 races actually at Gulfstream, which were happening 50 foot behind me, and I was firing away at Churchill unsuccessfully. But I was trying, and that's what. And sometimes trying is important, right?
Yeah, I know, Nick. You are pretty big into the tournament scene. You can usually, if you play any kind of tournaments, you'll usually see Nick sitting around 7th to 10th place, just kind of hovering. but you've had a couple of nice little hits last year, I believe, with tournaments. I know Mark had one recently, but what. Have you been playing? I know you like the turf, not the Turfway, the Twin Spires tournaments that come up. The random feeders and stuff. I know you've been trying to get into the Kentucky Derby betting challenge, and the person who should not be named, might be putting a stop. You got one bullet left tomorrow, if you see if you can get in there. But what have you thought so far of what you've seen at Churchill this week? Have you noticed any kind of weird like biases or anything? Does it just look like Churchill as Churchill like usual? What are you kind of seeing?
It looks like Churchill. I mean, everything I can tell, speed is fine, but don't go too fast. Though every time I looked up at a sprint race, they were going 21. So I thought I was watching Los Al for a little while. But none of them seem to win. So there is that. So it just seems like maybe they just start fast because everybody's excited it's Derby week, including the horses that are running for 12.5 maiden claimers. But yeah, I mean, it's looked fairly fine. Yesterday there was a 5.5 turf sprint that I thought there was no chance that the closers were going to win. So I didn't play the closer that I had circled and said, this is the winner. And it came and won it. I don't know, $40 winner, and I was out of the tournament, which was, just about perfect to describe my winter of almost winning a seat and then not winning a seat. So I've played enough of the tournaments that I love the Twin Spires tournaments. I highly recommend them, especially after Derby. They're doing a bunch. Like they have a BCBC feeder on, I think, May 26th for $800. So how do you get into the BCBC for less than $800? I don't think it's possible. So I don't know. Maybe play horse player or something, but no way.
I believe Caleb got in off of was it the 179 or something?
Yeah, no way.
I got in off of 179 as well.
No way, doesn't happen either. Got to pay to play.
Yeah. Well, you got to bet Bill Mott first time starters on accident in order to get that kind of that kind of win. But no, that was actually the Naira Betts, wasn't it?
That was the Naira Betts when he got it off. I was the one that got another one. I got in a 179 at Keeneland in the fall when it got all rained off, and I caught a Corrales capper. So I mean, you find those, but I mean, I would say watching Churchill today, there was the one turf sprint with the one price on the card that got wired. Bejarano wired that on a Turfway last out starter. But besides that, I thought that the track played really fair. You saw a few horses coming from way out of it on the dirt. So some closers, but you also saw some speed horses wire. So it seemed like the dirt is very, very fair. And honestly, the turf seemed pretty fair as well. You had, that turf sprint was wired. Some of the routes you had horses coming from, mid pack to a little bit more off it. So I think overall that the surface is playing pretty fair, and it's, normal Churchill, right?
I see Caleb in that Naira contest beat the great Nick Feldman when he accidentally hit it. Nick, I think, ended up third in that contest, who was also playing from San Diego on the beach. So he doesn't have much of an excuse, and he had to cancel a bet because he did it wrong. And they didn't give him his money back because that's apparently what Naira does. So he was short some number of dollars that he wasn't able to play. So he ended up losing to Caleb. And then to find out that Caleb won on accident made Nick, he's a very happy guy. I never hear about it whenever we meet for beers. So it's fun.
Yeah, fellow NorCal guy, right?
Oh, yeah. He lives about 20 minutes from here. We're going to have a derby party where we're inviting people to dress up, and he and I are going to sit off to the side and degen in my backyard. He texted me the other day and said, would I be a psycho if I showed up at your house at 7:30? And I said, if you don't show up before 8 o'clock, you're not invited until the derby. So you better show up.
Nice.
That's so funny. I'll actually be in NorCal. Mark will be too.
I will be as well.
I'll be heading up there for Andrew Champagne's wedding this summer.
June?
So, yep, I'll be up there for probably six days. So, we got to figure out where we're going. I think we're going to try and hit up Healdsburg because I've heard nice things about there. and go there for like 2-3 days. Have my wife go to the spa one day, do some wine tastings, and just relax. And then she wants to hit up the Winchester house because
Those are
she
not close to
loves.
each other.
No, I know, but we're going to come back to San Francisco for a
Okay.
day before the wedding, and I think he's getting married in. Oh man, I forgot what.
It's right outside Pleasanton. So
Yeah, right outside Pleasanton. It's like another. It's at a winery. I forget what, Livermore maybe.
Livermore is a
maybe.
place.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
that
Livermore, I
sounds
think, is
about
where
right.
it's at. So.
Yep. I guess my
But
invite's in the mail still. I guess it gets easier to mail them out to upstate New York and Chicago than to Sacramento.
hey,
but
so we haven't talked about this yet. I'm going to pounce this on Mark, but Caleb's talking about coming in a day early, so maybe we'll have to hook up with you and Nick and maybe grab some beers that night, and then I'll drag my wife along. She'll be like, "Who are these guys?" But although she's met Mark and Caleb, so that's not, that's not too bad.
Who's that guy is the better question.
Exactly.
What is that guy doing?
Don't you know Nick Feldman? Nick Feldman, he's in the Hall of Fame at his college. Come on, you know Nick Feldman.
Also true. Definitely, I'm actually going to introduce him to everybody. I haven't told him this yet, but everybody goes for like Hall of Famer Nick Feldman.
Hall of Famer Nick Feldman. Oh man, I love it.
Nice.
All right, cool. Well, we got a lot of races to get through. Just from kind of like a high level, I took a look at this card last night, and I talked with Andrew Champagne a little bit. We did our usual yearly, kind of thing where we do our best bet, our long shot, and our kind of like bold prediction for each card. And so I spent more time kind of looking at the Oaks, but overall for me, the Oaks, like these stakes races look a little chalky. I mean, they're not every single one of them, but there's a couple of races where I'm just like, if the chalk doesn't win, I don't know who does. And there's a couple of races I think where the chalk kind of looms large. I think Mark, you kind of joked around that you think that if you hit this pick 5, you're going to hit it for like a $10 base or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think, Nick? Did you kind of see it the same way, or are we kind of going to be way off here?
I was looking at it, and the reason I may not be playing in that tournament tomorrow is that I figure Matt Miller is going to hit 3 doubles where he goes all in unnecessarily just to show that you can win 2-5 to 4-5 and make $2,000 and then do it again. So yeah, the pick 5 today, I was just looking, paid like $300. I feel like the pick 5 tomorrow is going to pay less, at least the one that ends in the Oaks, because at least you had a $14 winner in today. So I don't know. It feels very, very much like a pick 5 that you'd see at Santa Anita on a Saturday that involves like 3 Baffords winning.
Yeah, I think you can literally hit the pick 6 that ends in the Oaks as a 1 by 1 by 1 by 1 by 1 by however many you need to cover the Oaks. Obviously, we all say that, and you get in those situations where clearly everybody, if we're all seeing it, everybody else is also seeing it, and that means the board's going to be very skewed in that direction. So if you do get a price, or if you get away from the favorite, even not even a price, you get a mid price, you could really blow up the tote board. So that's always that's how Mutel pots work, and that's what makes them fun.
Yep.
Well, what we need is Caleb to be in here and say, I don't see how this thing pays more than $10, because last time he said that was
it paid like $40K or something.
Yeah, it was Dubai. Yeah, and Hit Show blew that thing up. So, but yeah, we're going to start here at race 5. We got the Edgewood. We're going to be going a mile and 16th on the turf here for fillies 3 years old. And the morning line favorite in this race is the 5 Nitrogen. And I'll start things off. I had a hard time looking past Nitrogen in this spot. I think this was kind of like this wasn't going to be one that I was going to get too creative in. I thought maybe if you did want to use if you wanted to use a different horse in that race, you could probably make I just felt like she was the clear standout in this race. And then basically once you got past her, like Gowell's Delight, Vixen, even Lush Lips, and then Will Then. I mean, they all look the same to me. They're all running in that like 105 range on Timeform, whereas I think Nitrogen's last out was a 110 and seemed to be kind of a standout figure. It was a race at Keeneland. It was a race where she beat Vixen in that one pretty handily by 2.25 lengths. So I just don't really see a horse like Vixen turning the tables in this one. So I was basically Nitrogen. If I were to use another one, maybe I would try with Lush Lips. But Lush Lips is also another one that Nitrogen kind of beat up on. So I'm a single A here with Nitrogen. Maybe I'll use others if I'm trying to get a little spicy in here, or try and fade one. But I think there's another race in the sequence where I'm going to try and fade some short prices. So I'm just going to single A Nitrogen here and move on. Mark, where did you go?
Yeah, I agree with you with that. I think Nitrogen is going to be very, very tough in this field. I think you said that the rest of them were kind of, there's that group of 3 or 4 others after that are all the same. I agree with you to a point, but I think that to me, Will Then is the much more interesting of the other horses. Every single one of her starts, she's taken a step forward. You got Rispoli up last time out, second time out for the Jonathan Thomas barn. His stats with this kind of layoff and second offs are very, very, very stout. And I think Rispoli fits her very, very nicely. And again, you're talking about the Timeform things. Her Timeform figs were a 78, an 87, a 98, and a 107. She's trending in the right way, and she doesn't have to take a huge step forward, 3 or 4 points, and she's right there, with Nitrogen. So, I have it written down in my book as the 5 and the 8 as co-A's. And then I think there's a fair bit of drop off to other horses. I mean, maybe somebody like Lush Lips does move up with Pratt getting aboard and getting rid of Gaffleon. I won't say anything terrible about him at the moment, but that's a pretty massive jock upgrade. But I don't know. I don't know. I think Nitrogen has already sort of answered that question. So I wanted to go for a horse that hasn't been facing these and is a little bit of an unknown quantity. Yes, that is a West Coast shipper, but I thought Will Then was a little bit interesting in here.
All right, Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm not going to change any opinion of what you guys just said. I think the 5 Nitrogen is kind of the one. I'm not even going to play this as a pick 4 or pick 5. The only way that I would really get into this one was I kind of like Lush Lips. Maybe being the third on the turf may have a chance of moving forward. It's been moving forward on the Timeform number, so maybe with Pratt, like you said, like maybe you move forward. So I may try to get cute and play her. But really, the way that I was looking at this one is Nitrogen on top, and then put Admit the 3. First time turf and some great races at Turfway, which may mean absolutely nothing because it's Turfway, but it's my favorite track, so it means something in my heart. So I would probably play Admit in some sort of vertical way, and then the 4. You can say it because I'm not even going to try. The Irish bred, but it's a Mike Maker with Juan Hernandez, who is one of my favorite jockeys who used to ride at the now dead Golden Gate Fields. Kind of feels like one that if they do somehow end up fast, which I don't know if they will, but kind of feels like he can get up for a piece. So the 4 and the 3 underneath in the vertical may be worth trying. But I think I'm just trying to get cute because I'm on a podcast, on a YouTube show, trying to be cute because I just feel like there's something there, but also, yeah, I don't think so.
All right, let's move on. I see Road Warrior has shown up. Good evening, friends here. Nick Feldman, of course, saying he's always down to get a beer. So we'll have to twist his arm to get him out. It sounds like so.
It takes a lot takes a lot to get him out.
Race 6, the Ellie Sheep. We're going to be going a mile and 16th here on the main track. 4-year-olds and up. And this is the return of fierceness. Kind of surprising return of fierceness. This was, I think, with Pletcher having, I think, the second choice locked in here, there was a little bit of question of like, why are they running fierceness in here? But Rapoli, guess what? He wanted to show up on on during this Derby weekend with his big gun. So he's going to show up here with fierceness. I respect him showing up here. I like seeing our best horses run against each other. And fierceness is showing up as a 6-5 morning line favorite. Locked is 2-1, most wanted 7-2, Hall of Fame at 4-1, and then double digits on the other two. Nick, you said you needed like 30 seconds to talk about this race. So what do you think?
If fierceness loses, it's going to be somewhat hilarious. But first time as a 4-year-old going on this course just feels like, why is he not going to just win? And I know Pletcher listens to Rapoli, but okay, he has Locked, who just won the Santa Anita handicap, and he already was pointing here. And maybe this is too short for Locked, but I don't know. Fierceness just seems like he towers over this group. And, again, I can try and be cute by saying most wanted, but that's just trying to be cute. I think fierceness just kind of rolls here.
All right, so then luckily we have someone who's always trying to be cute in Mark. Mark, what did you think here?
Not going to try to be cute. I think it's very, very hard to beat fierceness in this spot. He is notorious for throwing some clunkers, but it seems as though he's kind of figured it out. I think he was a little heady when he was younger. Seems to really kind of be figuring it out. And he's just head and shoulders above these. It's really hard to make a case for anybody else in here. To me, it's fierceness and then a big gap down to everybody else.
I'm actually shocked because I thought for sure that I would not be the only one going against fierceness, but I got a single A. I'm singling Locked in the spot. I just think that there's just going to be a ton of speed in here. I mean, this is Uskar wants to go, Most Wanted wants to go, and then fierceness also wants to be forwardly placed. I just think that this pace is going to end up being pretty fast, and I think that this might set up for a horse like Locked. Locked obviously won the Cigar Mile. I think he's kind of he's an interesting horse in that last year he won at various distances, whether it was 7 furlongs, a mile, or a mile and a quarter. In the Cigar Mile he beat Mulligan, who's going to be a short price in a race later on in this card. So. I don't know. I really like Locked in this spot, and I just think that this is I think fierceness is obviously the better horse. I just think that Locked already having run twice this year, third, had a little bit of a layoff there from Santa Anita, but the long layoff for fierceness, I'm not entirely sure that you're going to get his best effort here. Mark, not you and I used to talk all the time how he was kind of like an every other type, but I just think that in this case, I don't like the whole run in the Breeders' Cup where every single horse is absolutely cranked up, and then immediately comes back into a grade 2, but not just a grade 2, but a grade 2 already in at mid-season, basically, right? Basically all these horses have at some point already run this year. So I just don't like if he was coming back, doing this move and coming back to Pegasus, for example, right? Okay, that makes more sense, right? It's a 2-month layoff. A lot of horses are coming off of a layoff there. But now that we're looking at the Ellie Sheep, I don't know. I feel like I think this is a tough spot. I think he's going to be up against it. If he wins, I think it's going to be very impressive. I do think that he's going to be probably our best older horse this year. I just don't know if you're just going to get his best effort off the layoff. So I'm gonna take a shot against with Locked. I see Road Warrior saying that he doesn't think people realize how good Locked is. I think people realize how good Locked is, but. He is second best to fierceness. I just think that this being his third start of the year is going to be a good spot here.
So Josh, I got to ask, because you mentioned the every other angle. Isn't Locked the absolute definition of an every other horse? At least he is on Timeform figs, and it looks like he is on Briz as well. And isn't this the other race? Isn't this the letdown race? He screams that on Form Cycle to me.
Yeah, it could be. What's interesting about Locked though is it doesn't seem like they've really like they've just been constantly changing the distance on this horse. So I don't know. He's like I said, he's campaigned kind of funny, but I don't know. I just think pace wise he's got an advantage. I think the fact that he's coming in here with a little bit of condition already this year. But I see Jeff Soto saying that he's looking at the back-to-back bullet works here on fierceness, and he's saying back-to-back bullet works that this will be a quick workout. I mean he could just be too good, right? But I'll take a shot against.
Never going to get an argument from me on a 6-5 going against, but I mean, he was pointed to New York, and like Pletcher's not going to just take him because Poli says you have to. Like It feels like if he was not cranked, he would be in New York and be running in that stakes race they have up there this weekend. So it just feels like, yeah, I'm with you. I'd love to be unlocked, but I'd actually, if I was doing anything, I'd be on most wanted because it feels like maybe he gets the lead and just kind of goes.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It just feels like this is a fierceness wins because he lost at the Derby last year, so now he gets to go celebrate the winner circle.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is this is something I actually really really hate. I hate trying to beat the favorite with the second choice. Like I feel like that's always like when you're. I don't know. I always feel like that's like a EV minus move because you never really get the right price on the second choice to do that because there might be people just trying to game game it that way too. So, but I don't know. Like I said, I'm basically if I play this pick 5, I'm gonna go single. If I whiff, I'm not gonna be too. I don't think I'm gonna be too upset if fierceness wins. Hey, maybe I'm holding a little bit of a grudge too because I finally can't come around to fierceness in the Breeders' Cup Classic, and I get boomed by Sierra Leone, a horse that I only bet the entire year and never decided to show up. So, but yeah, no, I it's a 6-horse race, right? With 2 short price horses. Like, I don't know. There's not a lot of meat on the bone here unless you're playing that pick 5. So
where there still probably isn't a lot of meat on the bone.
Yep.
Yeah, true. Race 7, La Troyenne. Speaking of meat on the bone, we have a field here of 7. It looks like we have a couple of scratches. I know Darth Vader is scratching. Someone else was possibly scratching in this race. Who was it? Was it?
I didn't hear that. Okay. Is Darth actually scratching, or because I haven't heard that?
That's what I had seen on Twitter. Was that 2 horses were scratching out of here?
Nobody on the early scratch list. Churchill released the early scratches. There was nobody there, but that doesn't mean they aren't scratching later.
Are you going to call it and then it's going to happen again?
Oh yeah, that was pretty funny. I forgot about that.
I can't remember what that horse was, but yeah.
My Main Squeeze and Darth Vader are expected to scratch.
Okay. My Main Squeeze.
Never mind.
I think My Main Squeeze is on Saturday. I believe.
On Saturday. That's what it was. They're for Saturday. Never mind. So Darth Vader is going to run here.
Okay.
It was the Derby City Distaff that they're scratching from. Okay, my mistake. Well, I thought that makes things a little bit different. But yeah, Thorpo Anna is going to be 2-5 in this race. 9-2 on Raging Sea. 6-1 on randomized. You get double digits on the rest. Nick, I'll let you go first. Where did you land here?
I really, really, really want to beat Thorpo Anna, and I don't know. It feels impossible. And while her speed figures have been going the wrong way, I think it's because she's just stops running there towards the end because she knows she's won, and why keep cranking her? Because they keep winning $1 million races down at Oaklawn. So get as much money as you possibly can by winning those races. Not beating anything, and maybe Raging Sea is going to come in here and turn the tide on her. And the only way that works, in my opinion, is the 2 Chad Browns are in here, and you get randomized just set a 20-second quarter and a 42-second half mile just to set it up for Raging Sea to come running late, which maybe what the whole plan is to beat her. So if I were playing anything, I'd play Raging Sea kind of as a B type on a pick horizontal type of thing. But I don't know. Torpedo Anna is really good, and yes, 2 to 5 is probably a pipe dream because I think she's going to probably go lower than that. Um, I don't love Torpedo Anna. She's not my like. I don't have this like soft spot in my heart for her, though. I did make a whole bunch of money on her on the Oaks last year. Thank you, Nick Feldman. But I don't know. She just feels like she's way better than the rest of this group, and she's moving forward in time forms, and that's the uh, speed figures I use. And she went from a 114 in that first race to a 121, which was faster than she ran at the Cotillion, which isn't a shock, but also faster than she ran the Distaff and the Breeders' Cup. And it's like maybe she's gonna get faster in this race because now she's third off of a layoff. So I'm gonna be very original and pick Torpedo Anna to win another race.
Mark, what do you think?
The Torpedo Anna is really hard because my inner making money handicap really, really, really wants to beat her because man, if you beat her, all of a sudden you're gonna get paid. But she is so good, and I agree with you. Most horses take a step forward going 2 to 3, or sorry, going 3 to 4, and second start in her 4-year-old season, she should be primed, and this should be that next step forward. The only kind of chink in her armor is that sort of argument of, well, she did beat Raging Sea in the Breeders' Cup Distaff, but you don't have the two Chads playing games where know that. Randomize is going to go to the front end and Randomize is going to try to pull the trip that she pulled in the Ogden Phipps last year at Saratoga, where she goes to the front end, goes stupid, and sees how far she can carry them. And that is Randomize game. And then you're going to have Raging Sea hoping that, Thorpedo Anna gets caught up going a little too fast, trying to chase down Randomized and can pick up the pieces. Right now I have it in A, as 1A, and I have both the Chads as Bs. Looking at the workout reports, I may add somebody like Darth Vader as a C. Seems like she's been working and pretty darn well, and may have sort of turned a corner and finally be, returning back to some form that we've seen some flashes of a good Darth Vader on her best days, and maybe she's returning to that form again. But man, you're trying to beat Torpedo Anna, who just, with a better ride in the Travers, she has an undefeated 3-year-old campaign, and she's. Like she was horse of the year to begin with, but like you're talking about like horse of the generation kind of conversations with her. So I still want to beat her, but boy, she's just hard, right?
Yep.
Well, on Drinking Champagne, my bold prediction was that Torpedo Anna loses. So yeah, two races, right? You did see her like get a little bit of condition, right, move up, but honestly, like those 2 races are going back to kind of what she ran in the Cotillion and the Distaff at the end of the year. And honestly, like if you look at Raging Sea obviously ran second in that race and basically had no pace to close into the Distaff and still managed to run pretty good. And then Randomized, the Ogden Phipps figure is faster than those races. Now, obviously, like Randomized is kind of is tough because I think she's going to have a pace advantage in here. She looks to be the main speed in this race. I mentioned it before. I think Joel Rosario doesn't know this, but Joel Rosario is very good on the lead. I wish someone would really like knock it into his head, because we've seen Joel do some things with other horses that may or may not have been Mexican and get taken off of mounts for not riding them on the lead. I'm still mad about that Latruska ride, But yeah, I think Randomized is going to be able to get out there and is going to be told, hey, set some fractions. Maybe you steal it on the front end, but I think this is a Chad Brown lately, the last couple of years, occasionally employs this strategy that Aiden O'Brien employs, right? And we talk about rabbits, right? But the thing is Aiden uses rabbits, and Chad, for that matter. They use rabbits a different way. They don't use rabbits to set it up for the other horse. They use rabbits so that they ensure pace, and there's a shot that the rabbit just wins, right? we've seen it with other horses. We've seen it with
So
horses
you're
like
trying
an
to make a
Italian.
case for face.
I'm not making a case for Thace, but if Chase was here, he would definitely be making the case for Thace. But I do think that randomized is legitimate. And then, like I said, I think Raging Sea just needs pace, just needs a little bit of pace. The distaff, there was no chance that she was catching. Torpedo Anna got on the front, went 47-4, and that was it. You saw those fractions go up, and like you saw the race was over. Yeah, I think if Torpedo Anna gets pushed a little bit, because we haven't really seen her get pushed yet this year, So, yeah, I think Torpedo Anna is the best horse in this race. But once again, I just think that the first two races this year haven't necessarily been all that impressive, and yeah, I think that I'm gonna once again, I'm gonna try and beat the third straight or the second straight favorite here, much to probably the chagrin of my bankroll. So I'm gonna use the two Chad Browns, the 4 and the 5 as A's. And then, yeah, I looked at the workout reports. It looks like Darth Vader's working really well. I think is going to need to take a humongous step forward in order to, be in this conversation. But, seeing a 4-year-old going into the 5-year-old season, has had some nice races in the Acorn. Won that Devona Dale 2 years back at a big price. Last year didn't really run much, so maybe something just kind of went wrong there, and maybe getting back here, that last race looked like she needed one. Maybe you get something here. So I'll use Darth Vader as a B, and then I'll use the 4 and the 5 as A's.
Yeah, really quick, Josh. If you go back to that Acorn that you had mentioned with Darth Vader, that's only 4 points slower than the best race that Torpedo's ever run on Timeform. So. I think we're trying to make this, oh my God, there's a chasm. Yeah, there really isn't, right? Like, there are horses in here that on their best day, if Torpedo runs her does not run her absolute best effort, can beat her. And we're talking about a 30-1. We're not talking about second or third choice.
Yep.
So, am I aggressively trying to beat Torpedo Anna? No. But I think this is one of the most likely times to see her get beat in her last since the Travers. This is probably the most likely spot for her to get beat.
Yeah. I mean, if this were randomized second race of the year, I may have a better case of that, because she's
a little more bottom end in her. Yep.
But and going into the 5-year-old season, I want her to do it. And again, if she were 30-1 like the rest of them, maybe. But it just feels like that's the way you'd beat her, is by going, the rabbit actually just keeps going, and that doesn't feel like the case as the first off a layoff. So second off a layoff, I'd have the case, but I'm with you. I think Darth Vader, you can make that case and feel like, all right, second off as a 5-year-old, maybe she takes this big step forward. I'm not going to really believe that, but she's the one that you can make the case for, that you can say, okay, at least you get the 30-1 underneath and kind of feel like you accomplished something.
You don't have to be right with that opinion. You don't have to be right with that opinion very often to have it be very profitable for you. And I think that's the angle you're taking.
And that's kind of like what I talked to Andrew about, is I was like, if like being even with, I think the first two races not really wowing me, and like with the opinion, I think, like, I still think Torpedo Anna wins this race 40-50% of the time, right? The problem is that she's priced like she wins this race 90% of the time.
That's the
like
problem.
That's really the issue, right? I mean, she's the most likely winner. Like, I'm not going to be out here like, I'm not an idiot, right? She's clearly the most likely winner. I mean, she runs her B race. Her B race is just as fast as all the rest of this field's A race, right? The problem is that it's just as fast. It's not like it's much, much faster than what some of these other horses have run. So, yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. Like I said, we'll see how much actual exposure I have in this race, because betting 7-horse fields on Derby weekend, like, you have much, much better spots to put your money. But I'll probably have a little bit of I'll probably have some kind of pick 5 or something through here, because I can't quit. Matt Carlson saying he likes randomized chances if they pound the track down to keep the rain out. So yeah, if they make that thing sealed, that might make it there. Nick Feldman, once again, he says that she can wire, she will sit just off. Kenny Public said she's pointed to the Stephen Foster after this, that she will jog here. So yeah,
Yeah, but is that
I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, if she wins by like 3, right, and like never even like really gets going again, like, tip my cap off. Congratulations to all the backers. But yeah, I'm going to take a shot against here. I think this is going to be the best time or to try and take a shot against, because I think once she gets into midseason form, I don't think anyone's going to touch her. So, anything else on this race?
Nope. Nick
Cool.
would probably name his daughter Thorpo Anna if he had one. It is probably his favorite horse I've ever heard him talk about. So he does have that going for him. But he was also all in on her in the Oaks. So I'll give him credit where credit is due that he nailed that one. And I walked out with a stack of cash and may have made my wife carry it so I didn't get jumped.
Hey, Mark, I'm going to leave this question to you because I know you think about this stuff more than I do. I'm a little bit more reactive, but I know you already got a plan B, right? Which is, Jeffrey Soto asking if the slop happens, we get a sloppy track. These first 3 races we talk about, does your opinion change at all?
No, it really doesn't. All 3 of those races, these are horses that have proven off-track form. Thorpo Anna has a couple wins across a few of the others too as well. So it really doesn't change it. Now, what would change it is if they muck with the track and maybe speed is just gold, right? Then maybe you go to something like a randomized or something like that. But I don't think just if it comes up sloppy. Now, they have actually toned down the amount of rain for tomorrow. They've moved the rain to sort of after the races and into Saturday. I do think it changes a bunch of races on Saturday, which we will, talk about tomorrow, and I'll highlight when that does come up and when that's appropriate to chat about. But I don't think any of these races it really does. If they come up super sloppy, my plays don't really change a lot.
The only thing I think that would really change is that fierceness in that Champagne. Everybody says that he wasn't very good because of the slop. So you may actually get a halfway decent price on him because people will look at that one and say, "Oh, he can't run the slop." I don't know that I believe that. I think he
don't
was
believe
just
that at
bad.
all. No,
But
I think that's a terrible take. I don't think it is, because he's sort of proven that that's just not the case.
I agree, and I think you may actually get a price on him because of it, though, because you can say,
agreed.
Which would be the only thing that I would say about that. Otherwise, I think there's no big deal.
Yeah.
Chairman of the Curtis Enos fan club, Penn State Scott here, saying, "I'm not seeing any rain until after the races tomorrow. Now Derby Day, different story."
That's what I just said. Yeah.
Yeah. When have we? Man.
But this is that part of Kentucky. Give it 5 minutes and the weather forecast changes. So yeah.
Yep. All right, let's move on. Mile and the 8th here on the turf, the Modesty, for fillies and mares 4 years old and up. Your morning line favorite is the 7. She Feels Pretty at 6-5, 3-1 on Saffron Moon, 7-2 on Give Me Another. Segesta 9-2, double digits on the rest. I'm hoping you guys got something here, because I feel like this is where I'm going back to the chalk here. I think She Feels Pretty kind of has got this entire field over a barrel, and I don't think it's very close. This might be my most likely winner on the card. On this card, so I really don't have much interesting to say. I just think, I mean, if anything, like, Sherry kind of was having a kind of a tough Keeneland meet, but she seemed to kind of start picking back up near the end of it. And I think she's had a couple of winners at Churchill already to start. So that was maybe my only concern, is maybe her whole barn was a little bit cold. But I mean, She Feels Pretty, I think, just kind of lays over this field. But I'm curious to see what you guys think. So, Mark, what did you think here?
I very much agree with you. I think She Feels Pretty kind of has this feel over a barrel. I don't need to speak too much in depth. I think on every figure, every metric I look at, I don't think the run style, I don't think there's any sort of pace scenario that sets up that really hurts her. And she's just a ton better than everybody else in here. The only caveat that I would have, and the one horse I want a little bit of coverage to as a B, is the 2 horse Give Me Another. Who there could be an argument to be made that in her last out race at Tampa, she may have not had the best trip. And also sometimes with these horses that are overseas shippers, it takes a trainer a race or two or a start or two to sort of figure that horse out and figure out what they want. Gram motion is extremely sharp, and it wouldn't surprise me to see this one take a step forward. But it is very, I think that, to your point, Josh, I think She Feels Pretty is probably the most likely single on this entire card.
But here, the problem with Give Me Another though, right? South African horse, right? Second start here, and doesn't have a cool name like Isi Vungu Vungu did. So like.
But it's another, not another.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's at least kind of cool.
And the other cool thing with that horse is as well, I always mention these horses that get, well, so first off, she loves to win. She's 7 8 time. The only loss she has is in the States. Second thing is every single, I don't think you always talk about these horses that get better and better and better. And no way, it's not like a linear progression. This horse has literally gotten a tiny little bit faster every single race she's ever run over 8 starts. And that is insane. Like that never happens. So, does she take a tiny little step forward and can give the 7 a run with a little bit of a better trip? Maybe. But you have to get the right price, and she probably ends up going off your second choice. And to a point Josh made earlier, that's a value trap. So, yeah.
Yep.
Nick.
I mean, I'm adding very little beyond that. I would then make the case only a little bit because you two are against him for Saffron Moon, but only because she Give Me Another last out. But I don't think that means a whole lot. The one thing I was going to say about Saffron Moon was that she did match her 118 time form twice, so there's a chance that she moves forward from that 118 time form, which still puts her below everything She Feels Pretty ran last year, except for the Belmont Oaks. So I have nothing clever or fun to say about this one, unfortunately, and I at least get to pass on a turf race because I'm not a big fan of turf races as it is. So I got nothing good or creative beyond what you two have said.
So wait a second. Has anybody ever seen Nick and our good friend Sheldon in the same room at the same time? Because that sounded an awfully lot like his. He loves to bet horses that are paired buyers and coming back. So I mean, but yeah, no, I think if you're going beyond the favorite here, I think you're. It's hard. You can make a case for probably 4 of them in this field.
Yeah.
All from similar lines, like, if they get the right trip and maybe they take a step forward and they're off a layoff, yada yada yada. And I think when you're in those kind of cases, you just single, and if you're wrong, you're wrong.
Yep. She did not pair her buyer though. She did pair her time form, which is a very important difference.
Okay.
Very big difference. Her 93 to 92.
She was 1 point off the buyer pairing. Yes,
big difference.
Huge difference.
All right, let's move on here. Well, I did see Penn State Scott mentioned that DeVoe had 2 winners today. So yeah, so it seems like Sherry's Barn is going the right direction again. She at the middle of that Keeneland meet, I know we had mentioned it a couple times, Mark, that it looked like she was a little bit. Yeah, she was a little getting off to a real slow start. But I mean, I think she's still like 20% for the year, so it's not like. She's having a bad
and I think
year,
good old law of large numbers. When you have those smaller barns, they tend to be streaky just because they don't have that many starters to offset and balance things out. And she is, she's not a big barn. Very short.
Yep. Race 9, the 8 bells. We got 7 furlongs here on the main track, and your morning line favorite in here is the 12. Eclatant. You have 3-1 on Varity. You got 7-2 on Impulse Buy, 8-1 on Bourbon Memory. You got double digits on everybody else. Mark, where did you land here?
I guess this is the first race in the sequence where I'm not all over the favorite. Eclatant is a horse that I have listed down as a B. Could the horse win? Sure, but I think that for me, the race really kind of began and ended with the 5 horse Varity, who is a horse that I realize threw up a huge figure on an off track in the Beaumont last out. But that was a really impressive performance. And the last couple for this one seems to be just kind of, getting substantially better every single race. There's can kind of sit that sort of mid packet. Well, probably sits second or third here, has enough speed in this race that he can be really forwardly placed. And you probably get your price just given the fact that the connections are not as known. And, a lot of people are a little suspect of Vinny. Because I hear that quite a lot, and I'm sure that's why Josh has that question mark. If this was, Jose Ortiz, or if this was Luis Saez, that would be a lone A on a lot of people's tickets. But it's Vinny, and so the people are a little bit more suspect. I think Varity really sits the trip in here, and I think this is just a case of I don't think that slop that the slop in the last moved that horse up substantially. I think this is just a situation where the horse is just getting better and is a horse that can run kind of across any surface. So to me, I think Varity is probably a lone A in this field for me.
Wow. Yeah, I hit the double on that March 6th race at Turfway. It was my birthday. I was at dinner with my family, and I was firing a double in a 5K claiming race to a non-winner of one allowance race at Turfway. Yes, that was actually me, and my kids actually cheered me on, so I at least had that going for me. I am not against that horse, but I think at 3-1 with 12 horses here, you kind of should take a stand against. I would make the case for the 7 Mandela as my first one. I think she can get 7 furlongs. If you watch that race at Oaklawn, she can get a mile and a quarter and win the Derby based on that run. But she was running down the middle of the track, which has been fairly good at Oaklawn. Thank you, Emily Gullickson. And just looked like she was way too good, but she was 6-5. So I don't know if that tells you anything. That would be the one that I'd make the biggest case for, but at 15-1, it's like, yeah, she's probably going to be 4 or 5-1 because I think everybody's going to see what I'm seeing because I'm not that clever here. And then Evanescence is the other one that sort of made some sense, but I actually have a big fear about her getting the distance. While she won that race at Keeneland last out, she seemed to be slowing down, and not because she was winning, but because she was getting tired. But if she can actually make a move forward, it's third off of a layoff and third at 3, maybe she can become, a little bit good at 7 furlongs, but I think it may be a bit long for her. Other than that, I kind of fell with you with Varity because I have a soft spot for her. The other one, was Princess Aaliyah, which I have a hard time making a case for because it's a Dwayne Lucas horse, and I just don't know if she's in form or if she's just out for training and he accidentally injured her for some reason, because she's ran every 3 weeks or so and ran fine. None of the speed figures get there, but the one turn seems to be better for her. But she ran 5 times at Oaklawn somehow. I think she's probably like the third most ran horse at Oaklawn, while being in mainly maiden races. And then, of course, why not try the fantasy, because it's there and it kind of fits her training schedule. But she didn't look real great at Churchill, and I want to see some horse run well at Churchill because I think it's a goofy track. So I'd try to make a case for that one, but I think my case is a real strong case on Mandela more than anybody else here.
Yeah, I have 2 A's, and then I have a bunch of horses I'm kind of interested in. My top pick is the 5 Varity. I mean, I just that last figure was just gaudy, right? And the thing is that I kind of had the same thought as you, Mark, where I'm like, well, it was in the slop, right? But even though that race was in the slop, that race is about 15 points faster than most what everybody else has run. So it's pretty big.
Yeah, and again, I never use the word because I get my hand slapped when I say it, but there's always the concern about the B word comes out here and the horse bounces, right? Like that's what you worry about, because that was a big step forward. But if you look at look at the figures you're looking at, it looks like a progression, right? So there are those concerns there. If this horse ends up at 2-1, much less interested. But I think this horse might drift up. big enough field. There's a lot of other interests. I think to Nick's point, he mentioned the 7 horse I'm interested in. I'm interested in the 12 a little bit. There's other horses you could get interested in at the right prices. So I think you get, I think Varity might drift up. You might get 7-2 range on this one. And I think that's very fair value.
What do the boomer figs say about the 5?
The boomer figs? Which boomer figs are we on?
Buyer, DRF.
They have that horse is having an 84 buyer in the Beaumont.
And looks very similar to what it does everywhere else, where it's just
looks very similar. It looks a little bit faster than everybody else. But again, that change from the Turfway to the Keeneland is only 4 points there. So less, I'm less concerned about a bounce when I see those kind of improvements.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, and that was kind of like my thinking, right? Is like I'm like, even if this was like a race that was it was like a freak on the slop, like let's say that it came back 10 points too fast. Even if you take those 10 points away, this is still like the fastest horse in the field. Like I mean, like it's very, very significant. And to your point, Mark, it could just be like a step forward. And maybe it's not as big of a step forward because I think Timeform had it as a 116 and then bumped it up to 121. Even that 116, right? I mean, looks really, really good in here. The other A I have is the 2 Evanescence, and right, this is the horse coming out of a pretty salty Keeneland race. Where she won at about 5-1 in that race, and this isn't something I do a ton of, but because Mark, what do I always like to say?
The EH win everything.
Well, it's specifically about class.
It doesn't matter.
Exactly. But like one of the interesting things about Evanescence's last race is, Timeform has got like that class rating. At the kind of it's like the first number on the form after the the race and everything like that, and they really felt like that was a very, very strong field, and in fact it's a field that they think is of about equal strength to this field. They had the class rating for this race is 111. They had the class rating for that one at 111. I see 20-1, and I mean honestly, it doesn't take a lot for me to try and take a shot. Right, I mean, I'm seeing 20-1, but more importantly, Timeform's got this coded as a fast pace. You look at this race, you see horses like the 5 Varity, who's going to want to be forwardly placed. The 6 Kimchi Cat is going to want to be forwardly placed. Blue Fire is going to go right. Bourbon Memory probably going to be kind of forwardly placed. Maybe a little bit bigger question on that. And so. I don't want to get all chase over here and hope that a sprint race is going to fall apart. But I thought there were just a lot of positives there, and not to mention that this is basically the second fastest dirt fig I think on Timeform or tied for. I just think that this is kind of just like a price play, right? This is I think I see a lot of things going away of this horse, right? Last time out they had the race coded red, and she was able to close in and win by open lengths on the dirt. I thought Evanescence made a ton of sense in here. A couple others though I do want to talk about. One I think is the one that Nick Feldman had mentioned, which is Bourbon Memory, right? He likes the 9 Bourbon Memory here a little bit.
I was going to say, do you have the dirty little pig boy drop to play? Am I on the wrong podcast here?
I don't have my soundboard, unfortunately, since I'm traveling. But there's a couple of races. I think there's a race later on where I'm kind of looking at this where I see a horse that ran a really, really huge figure on that synthetic. And I have a feeling that people are going to see synthetic and be like, this isn't the same surface, and just kind of toss it. But what we've seen, at least we saw this at Keeneland. We saw these horses run really nice races at Turfway Park, and then all of a sudden come back, I run in the Keeneland dirt, and they back those races up, and we're winning races. So I think the 9 Bourbon Memory is one that last time out ran a very, very strong race, ended up winning, ran a 109 Timeform, which once again, puts her right in the conversation with the rest of these horses. 8-1 on the morning line, keeps Corrales aboard. I just think that if this is a horse that's able to kind of stay back and stay out of it, stay out of the pace, and is able to make kind of more of a pressing trip, I think is one that is very, very interesting in this spot. And then
I would
another
also
horse.
say that with that though, go back and watch that race they ran on March 1st. She dead heated for first, and they just set outrageous fractions going 2 turns at Turfway, which you shouldn't be able to do, and they just destroyed that field. Now it's a non-winners of 1 at Turfway, so it is what it is. But that was a really impressive race. So she's come out of that and then moved forward off of that race, makes her seem like she's going to make a pretty good move. And the clock reports gave her a pretty good workout report also. So she seems very live.
Yeah, and then the other horse that I kind of have is like a B type is actually the 1 Unchained Elaine, and this is kind of, once again, this is when I handicap races using Timeform, right? If I am predicting kind of a fast pace, or if I'm predicting a slow pace, right, I start to look and I'm like, all right, how's this horse run when red fractions have shown up? How's this horse run when blue fractions show up, right? And kind of try and match that with what I think the race flow is going to be in this race. And that last race, Junior Alvarado sat off a hot pace. They went 21-3, 44-3, and was able to close and win by 2 lengths. And I do think that is, could be the case here, right? This might be a case where you get a really, really fast pace and are going to need to close in off of that. So I thought Unchained Elaine needs to take a step forward, but has run pretty well in a similar type of pace scenario. So I'll use Unchained Elaine as a B, but my top picks in here are going to be Evanescence and the 5 Varity. And I'll use a little bit as well of this 9 Bourbon Memory. I did see, I think Nick Feldman also mentioned that for Mandela, the 7, that Matt Dinnerman was on a space last night with Barshu with Netflix star, if you include the back of his head, Barshu, and that he's close with the connections and that they love this horse for whatever that's worth. So,
one other horse, Josh, before we move on, if you don't mind. The 11 horse, Look Forward, is a horse that I do have a little bit of interest in here. And I'm not quite sure how I'm using this horse. Probably more of a BC sort of line horse, depending on if I'm playing a pick 4 or pick 5. But if you look at this horse, debuts at 6, wins a nice race. Second time out, Starlet. They tried 2 turns. Runs into Tenma. Tenma's a monster and is going to be. We'll talk about Tenma, here later on. They cut back for the Seniana, or I can't say the name. That race, nice win there going this trip. Then they clearly got Oaks fever, and they took 2 shots going further. The horse definitely just didn't fire A efforts. If they just happen to have a 7 furlong horse all along, you get these horses that are returning to the right distance. And from what I see, this is the best closing pace in this field. So if you're playing that kind of angle, not that we want to call it the chase angle, but this idea that a sprint, if we're calling 7 furlongs a sprint, comes apart, this is the horse that should be flying late and picking up the pieces. And you got Umberto Rispoli, who had a win on the day today, and he's riding really well. And I think these closer types he's really good at, having that turf pedigree, that ability, or that riding a lot of turf horses, right? That kind of seeing how the race is coming apart in front of you, picking your lines, that sort of thing, he's very good at. So I thought Look Forward here is a horse that might get a little overlooked. Not my top choice, but a horse I definitely want on tickets because I think you're going to get a really nice price, and I don't think this one's impossible.
I would absolutely put that one in a vertical, in a trifecta type. It feels like that exact thing where, she's not quite fast enough to get there, but she can actually get 7 furlongs, so she gets third and blows it up.
Yep. Sucks up at third at a huge price, and it really pays out. Yeah, maybe the underneath type horse. Yeah, in an exact or a try completely.
And CB for you to win in chat. He also likes that's his price play here. Look Forward. He likes the positive jock switch there. And honestly, the only thing I like more than talking about Chase and his random angles and half making fun of him is the Wilson shoot. So hopefully,
But they're going to pull
hopefully
that
he's
out
out
at
there.
Churchill this week.
No, but
This ain't the
I
shoot,
know,
the Wilson shoot.
Yeah, we got to shoot the shit at the shoot, shooting the shoot, or whatever. I forgot what the idea was there, but we'll get there.
I don't know if we're allowed to mention it, but that is going to be a feature on a major thing this summer. I don't know how much I'm allowed to tease it, but
we'll see what happens.
Stay tuned.
Anything else on that race?
It's one of the better races of the day, so I think it's one that's definitely worth betting.
It's a good race. Yeah.
All right, race 10 here, the Unbridled Sydney here, presented by Side Games. A shout out to Murphy, because I know he's a huge weeb and loves those girls turning into horses and back, or whatever that game or anime is. 5.5 furlongs here on the turf, your morning line favorite is going to be AG Bullet at 8-5, Queen Maxima at 2-1, 6-1 on Epona's Hope, 8-1 on Bling, double digits on the rest. Nick, where did you land here?
I kind of want to take a shot against, because it's a 5 furlong sprint race, and because those always mean closers are going to win somehow, though they don't actually always happen. I was going to take a little bit of a shot against Queen Maxima, because she's only ran at Santa Anita, and while she loves the downhill, which is one of the best races in the world, is the 6.5 going downhill, I don't know that it's going to stack up well at 5.5 at Churchill. Sitting 9 posts isn't super wide, but also she kind of wants to lead, though, look back 3 races and she doesn't actually need the lead. I would be kind of against her. AG Bullet wants to do everything, and she seems really good at running at any distance in anything. I also have a little bit of a bias against 5-year-old mares, because I don't know, I've been told once that they want to be moms, and thus I will forever say she doesn't want to run anymore because she hasn't raced in 152 days, and thus she's going to be worse. And this is how I lose money every day. I would take a shot with Crown Imperial. Luis Saez sitting right off, going 5.5, and that race back at Keeneland just seems like it's going to fit perfectly. I do wish Irad stick on this ride, but it feels like one that can really take a step forward at 4, because 4-year-olds way younger than 5-year-olds. The other one that kind of made me squint and say I can make a case for is the 8 going first time turf, though it's not actually first time turf, first time in a while turf, and she won a turf race a while ago. I think her second race of her career. Won the maiden at 6.5 at Kentucky Downs. So I kind of made a case of, well, she wants the distance, and she's been running really well going 6 at Oaklawn. So there's kind of a case of like she can get the distance. I don't really like my case. I've said it out loud now. I had it in my head and it really made some sense, and now I've kind of talked myself out of it. So I'll just stick with the 7, Crown Imperial, kind of closing. AG Bullet seems to be the best horse of any turf girl horse there is. She seems to kind of run everywhere and do anything. Like, she ran first at 6.5 at Kentucky Downs, then went to Keeneland and ran a mile and ran a good 4th behind Gina Romantica, Chili Flag, and Fluffy Socks, and then went again, faced the boys and ran 3rd going 5 furlongs, because why not? And then, just for the hell of it, went and ran a mile at Del Mar, but also ran 3rd. So she did fall off enough at the end where she wasn't winning races, and the speed figures are good because they're grade 1s, and so I kind of wanted to make the case against both of them. So I'll take a very, very small shot with Crown Imperial, but not going to lose a weekend because I thought that the 7 would win this one.
Yeah, this race, AG Bullet and I have a long history, and I can never get on the right side of her. I have been wrong on this horse more times than I care to admit. Yes, she runs at a lot of different distances, and yes, her time form figures are always really stout, especially as of late, where she is.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you look at
She's
Timeform,
amazing.
You just look at this race for about 3 seconds, and you're like, she's 20 points faster than everybody else. Like, she just destroys this field. But there are some things that just give me pause, and it's that she always throws up these huge figures, but
doesn't win.
Yes, I really. She's won half of her races. She does win quite a lot, but she's won her last 3. Or sorry, she has not won her last 3, and still thrown up huge figures, doing it. I don't know. On paper, she's an ice cold single, and you don't look anywhere else. something just feels a little off, and I want a little more coverage. And I think you mentioned, one of the horses you had mentioned, Queen Maxima. She's an interesting horse in here, but I think I'd kind of let her beat me. The one horse that I am a little bit interested in is the 5 horse, Epona's Hope. Who moves into the service barn. This is a horse that has won won her last 3 races, going going this shorter trip. She's been going 5 versus a 5.5 furlong trip at Gulfstream. And she's a horse that, she's going to go to the front end, and she's going to try to get really, really brave out there. And I know you've mentioned sort of Joao Rosario on these, on these speed type horses. And he's actually really good at doing this. And, you kind of wonder, she's definitely got some confidence. I wonder if she's the type that can go to the front end and just get really brave and kind of, wire this field if AG Bullet has gotten to the point in her career where she just doesn't necessarily have that killer instinct anymore. Big if. I get it. It's a huge if, but it's one of those ones. I want a little tiny coverage to other horses that are in this field. Although I probably have 90% of my money going through AG Bullet, and she'll somehow hurt me again.
Yeah, I have a hard time getting around AG Bullet in this spot. I think you said it best, Nick. It doesn't matter. Like, as long as she's on the turf, she's going to run a really good race. Mark, you already mentioned. We joke around sometimes about a horse being 20 points faster than anybody else in the field. AG Bullet literally is 20 points faster than anybody else in this field. So it's tough for me to see that and kind of get around it. Really, the only other horse, well, there's 2 horses that I'm kind of interested in a little bit. I think the one I'm more interested in is probably the 2 Awesome Treat. Last time out, this is a horse I think that wants to close, wants to come from off the pace a little bit. And last time out was just basically had no shot, right? They went absolutely. They went way too slow for a 5.5 sprint there at Keeneland. I got it marked as blue on Timeform. Here on Brisnet, they got it marked as negative numbers, -7, -4. So this was not a fast race. And there was a little bit of trouble in the start there, and I think I'm of the mind that, especially like in turf sprints, if you don't break clean, like that's it. It's game over, basically, right? You have so much less time to make up for it, and you kind of look at some of those synthetic races, and I think the synthetic races look really good. Those 6 furlong synthetic races, you get Luan Machado aboard here, and this is a horse that I think has kind of been improving the last couple times out. Even though last time was beaten 7th, right, by 7 3/4 length, still put up an okay number. I think the Timeform figure from the Turfway race in December, the stakes race, I think is probably the race that's doing the most heavy lifting here. Although this horse also has a nice race at Ellis Park as well.
I'll tell you, Josh, that I make notes on Turfway races because I have a sickness. But every horse out of that race has decreased their Timeform rating. So I think that December 14th race is way inflated. So I would knock that one back down towards where she kind of is at that kind of 100. But this is the sickness that is my head, is that I have notes about a December 14th race at Turfway.
But yeah, honestly, I'm trying to look at some of these horses, and it's tough when you have a horse like AG Bullet, right? And you see this is a horse that's run a 131, right?
Yeah.
And right now, I'm like, all right, which horses have run multiple 110s, right? Like we're setting the floor here, and I thought the 2 had a bit of a shot, and then the other one I was kind of interested in was the 6, Bling. I thought this is another horse that has had some good races. kind of further back. This is a horse that had consistently run in like the 111 to 113 range, going back a couple of races. But this is a horse that's been running that and not really winning. I mean, I honestly, I don't know when the last time this horse won because my PPs don't go that far back. But is a horse that's been keeping, I think, pretty tough company. It does have, I think, a couple of races that do fit in here if AG Bullet were not to fire. I think absolutely the horse I want absolutely nothing to do with is the 9 Queen Maxima. I was talking about this yesterday, Mark. The Baffert horse, was it Princess Noor, that just kept on winning, kept on winning, and like was throwing up like 80 buyers, and everyone's like, oh, like, but she's winning grade 2. She won a grade 2, like that 80 buyer, that can't be right. And then like she ran, I think she shipped for some race and just I think ran once more and then got retired because it was just like a really bad race.
Yep.
And this is a horse that's been winning, but I mean, when you look at what other horses have been running speed figure wise, like I don't see how this horse should be 2-1.
Yeah.
I'm definitely against Queen Maxima. I'll be using the 4 AG Bullet most prominently, and then I'll sprinkle in a little bit, I think, of the 2 Awesome Treat and the 6 Bling.
The only argument I'd make for the 9 Queen Maxima, which I am against, is if you look at the optics plot, she is a huge square and the only huge square on the surface in distance. So I think that is more to do with being at Santa Anita than actually being good. But it's intimidating to see that big fat square in quad 1 and be like, oh yeah, she's going to lose because I don't like her. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm against her as well.
Dude, Nick Feldman agreed with me.
Wow.
God. Wow. Wow.
I did see CB for you to win. He likes...
Go buy a lottery ticket or something.
CB for you to win likes Gavia, the 3, a little bit. Won the last 2 races at Fairgrounds, and Pratt's hopping the board.
Just way too slow. Yep. Way too slow.
All right. Anything else in this race?
Nope.
All right. Well, we're at the last one that we're going to cover tonight. Kentucky Oaks. Be going a 1.8 miles on the main track here for fillies 3 years old. And we got a full field of 14 here. Your 6-5 favorite is the 11 Good Cheer. You get 6-1 on Lacara, 8-1 on Quiet Side, double digits on everybody else. Nick, as our guest, I will let you go first. Where did you land here?
I'm gonna fall for it again, and I'm gonna play the Baffert. If I get anywhere near 12-1, I will be.
You're not going to.
It's well aware, but if I do, I will be mortgaging my house, and I may be coming to live with you guys. I don't think she's the best by any stretch, but I think she will actually be probably closer to 3rd choice than 9th choice. The other, I mean, she just fits, right? I mean, she's been very good. You can say she went backwards in that race, the Santa Anita Oaks, but Timeform has that color-coded blue, which means you want to be farther back, and she was 4th, but back a whole 2 lengths, and it was a very fast pace, and so I don't think she had the best trip she could possibly get there. Baffert's excuse of not being cranked with her is the same he has with Citizen Bowl. So if she wins this, maybe play Citizen Bowl because it's the same thing. The only other couple that I liked, I mean, you can't really knock Good Cheer other than she's 6-5 and she has the same speed figure as everybody else, slower than most in some of these cases. I like Quiet Side. There's a real case to be made for her winning that fantasy at Oaklawn. But when I watched that race at the fantasy at Oaklawn, I kind of said I wanted Simply Joking out of that race, who kind of did all the dirty work up front. Not a huge lead in front of Quiet Side, but she set faster fractions and was inside and just lost by 3/4 of a length, kind of coming second off of a layoff. She's now coming in 3rd. I like Whit Beckman coming in with started her as a stakes horse at Fairgrounds, but I have a big reservation with Practical Jokes going 1.125 miles. I know nothing about breeding, but again, I heard it one time, and thus it'll ever be in my head that I don't want Practical Jokes going long. And so getting that little bit of extra distance, it feels a little tough to make a real strong case for. But man, she looked good in the fantasy. And if you're going to get 10-1 versus, well, 8-1, never mind. They're kind of the same thing. Quiet Side and Simply Joking both kind of make sense in that case. And then the one that, again, I thought I was going to get a longer price on, and I can almost guarantee I'll get longer than 6-1, is if Lakara just goes, I kind of feel like she'll just keep going. And I've really liked her at that Tampa race on, I don't know, it was the Suncoast. It was the first race of the Derby undercard. But that was just such a speed favoring track. And she kind of has repeated that a couple of times now, where if she just goes and has less pressure than it seems like she should, she may just go and just not stop. But if you look at the pace projector or at Timeform or at Brisnet or basically anywhere, she may not even get the lead. So it feels a little tough to make the case, but there's the world where she breaks and goes, but at 6-1 feels a little bit, I wouldn't say short, but second choice feels like a short price to take on her. So I just round back to Tenma and say she's probably the best of the rest. And if she runs most of her other races, she's right there with Good Cheer. And if Good Cheer is 6-5, you at least get a shot. My big thought of the day is I'm going to play doubles without using Good Cheer with Derby and try and make some money that way. But yeah, it was there were enough horses here that looked really good that you can make the case for, that I feel like the play is not Good Cheer, and kind of make a case for anybody else you want to make a case for.
Yeah, you basically stole my whole narrative, Nick. You said exactly what I was going to say. I mean, you have Good Cheer, who's going to be at a very short price in here, but this field looks a lot flatter than what that really looks like. You basically named every single horse that I'm interested in. My top pick is Quiet Side in here. I think the draw is a little scary, but I think she really sits a pretty nice trip just behind the speeds. The only horse you really kind of didn't dig into, and I think is a little bit worthwhile talking about, is 5G is scratching out of this race. And that does very much change the pace complexion in this race. And how I'm looking at it, I think Simply Joking is the speed of the speed. Now, I don't like the jock given that sort of pace complexion. I really wish Torres was still up on this horse, but there's a case to be made that she may get out to the front end, be very much the controlling space and speed of the front end of this race, and could take them a very, very long way. She's very lightly raced. She's taken a step forward in every one of those races. Yes, Quiet Side got the best of her the last time out in the fantasy, but second off the layoff here, she should be a little bit sharper. So I 100% agree with everything else that you said between horses like Tenma and horses like Quiet Side, but that's the only other horse that I think you didn't talk about that I thought deserved a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm only not talking about her because I think she's going to be the second choice, and I was more.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay. If she is, thanks, Nick. If she does end up second choice, I have no interest in her in even the slightest. My thought was you're going to get 10 or 12-1 on a horse that's going to be controlling speed at least. And if that was the case, cool. But if you think that she's going to be second choice in here, then no interest in her.
I think that Tenma is going to not take as much money as we all want to believe, because we all kind of believe it. But if you look at the buyer on that, it takes a big step backwards, and I think there's enough people that bet on that where the buyer being slower is going to make Tenma. I mean, she'll be second choice, but she won't be 4-1 second choice. I think she'll be 6 or 7 second choice.
So if you're drawing lines in here, what odds do you give Quiet Side?
I think she's probably in that 9, 10, 12.
Really? Okay. If she goes off as something like that, I am extremely interested in her. Yeah, no, and that's what I was thinking. Geez, I'd be lucky to get that 8-1 morning line kind of range. But if you think she's going to be anything above that, I am even more interested than I was, because I think we've seen it. John Ortiz, he's kind of again, not a trainer that wins at a high percentage, but he's had a few of these fillies who specifically fillies who he has gotten very, very good at. I remember 10 years ago, that was a Chad Brown thing. It was this thing where certain trainers are just, Chad Brown seemed to just get fillies, and he did very, very well with them, rushing falls of the world. And it seems like John Ortiz has that same sort of approach. He's very, very good with the fillies. So I think Quiet Side's
No way
very
it's 10-1, by the way. I just realized she was 60 cents on the dollar in that fantasy. So I'm way wrong on 10. I think you're right. I think she goes down from there. She's probably second choice, third choice. Her and Tenma, maybe.
With Quiet Side, you think
I think
second
so.
choice?
Just looking back at it, because now I look at the buyer, and she went from a 75 to an 86 to a 91, which is like right there with everybody, or faster than most, and the same as Good Cheer. So I also am of the belief that Good Cheer is going to be 4 to 5. So
my thought was a Good Cheer is probably even money. You have Quiet Side at more that 5-1 sort of range. Tenma 7 or 8-1, maybe 6, 7. But I think you're going to have a bunch of them kind of very close in there. I think we probably know who the favorite's going to be, and I do agree with you that I really do think Good Cheer takes a lot of money, maybe 6 to 5, maybe even money, that sort of range. But I think there's going to be a bunch of them in that sort of 5-1 to 9-1 range. So.
Yeah, I looked real quick overseas to see what kind of odds they have posted right now. They have Good Cheer at, I see 6 to 5, 11 to 8. Right. So see that one really short. Your second choice at 7 to 1 is Lucara. 15 to 2 on Quiet Side. 8 to 1 on Tenma. And then 9 to 1 on Simply Joking. And then you get double digits on the rest. So.
Hey, Josh. You would know this a little better than I do. Do Clocker reports really move the Euro lines?
I don't know, actually.
Because Lucara is the works horse, like by a mile. She's got two A- works. She was the horse that everybody's talking about. She's just been a freak show in the morning. So I didn't know if that would move Euro lines or not.
I'll tell you, so I've told the story before. I think I even clipped it a couple weeks ago. But I play FIFA, and I'm in a Discord with a bunch of British guys.
And you're never gonna have to pay for a beer overseas again.
For beer overseas again after I gave them Hit Show, but yeah, and they got like 40 to 1. They got even better price than I think we got. It was insane. But I gave them 2 plays. I looked at what odds they were getting. I told them to lock it in. For Friday, the 2 plays were Evanescence at 20 to 1. I saw some places going as high as 30 to 1. I said, lock that in.
Wow.
And my top pick in this race, and I saw her at 7 to 1 everywhere yesterday. Mark, you already talked about her, Lucara. I mean, look, the workout reports don't owe me anything at this point. Excuse me. My first 4-figure score came due to the workout reports. One horse, Cummings, obviously.
Cummings. I couldn't think of his name.
And then fresh off of, kind of a bad race due to some bleeding, good old Serengeti Empress winning but I think that was also another works horse, if I remember correctly, Mark.
She was. Yeah, she was.
I mean, Lucara's got those A- works. Quiet Side's got an A- as well. That's my second choice in here. I think those are the 2 horses I'm going to use here. Good Cheer could absolutely win this race. But once again, this is just kind of like coming from a value perspective, coming from I mentioned Princess Noor earlier, right? This is a horse that is going to be very short because she hasn't lost, but she really hasn't run faster than anybody in his race. I mean, in fact, she's the Quiet Side and Lucara have both run faster than Good Cheer. So while I think that Lucara absolutely can win, right? I mean, some horses, that's it. They love to win. They have a nose for the wire, right? Good Cheer could win. I just don't think that her realistic chances are winning this race 50% of the time, right? When she's going to go off near even money. So that just means I got to play against. So, I think the 14 Quiet Side makes a bunch of sense. The fantasy was a very, very good race. I know you guys like Simply Joking out of that one, but I have a hard time thinking that Simply Joking is gonna run better going even longer. I really like Quiet Side in this spot, along with the 7 Lucara. Like I said, she won the Ashland wire to wire, but this is a horse that has shown versatility. Won the Pocahontas coming from way off of it. And that was obviously run here at Churchill Downs. Been working like a monster. Has won on the front end, one from coming off of it. I mean, the Devona Dale, she lost to the Queen's MG, who was a nice horse before. I think she took a step back or got vanned off or something, I think, last time out. But I think Lucara is in here with a huge shot. That's gonna be my top pick. 2 other horses that I was interested in. The 10 Take Charge Milady, I think of the rest, is one that I think if this gets really, really crazy on the front end, could be the one that kind of picks up the pieces late. I just have a feeling this is going to be a horse that's going to get bet down a lot. That people are going to have seen that Netflix show, and they're going to see, it's Kenny McPeak and Brian Hernandez Jr. again. And I don't know. I just have a feeling that I'm not going to get the price I want on this horse, but this is another horse that's been working very, very well. Ran very, very well in that Ashland, just missed there. But I think with maybe a little bit more pace, maybe there's a chance that Take Charge Milady is able to kind of close in and take a step forward. The other horse I like is the number 13, Bless the Broken. And I mean, I feel like we've talked about this already numerous times.
Sound effect.
Huh?
Where's the sound effect?
Do it.
I know the little pig.
We need the sound
I
effect,
guess.
Josh.
But man, this horse closed into blue fractions on the synthetic, and ran a 112 Timeform, which is basically 2 points faster than anything Good Cheers run. Now, once again, it's the synthetic, right? Is that going to carry over? Because this is a horse that was running 101s, right? So you got to make that decision. Is this a horse that took a step forward? Is this a horse that just wants to run the synthetic? I see Laoban and Tap It, and I'm like, why would dirt be a problem for this horse, right? So I choose to believe that maybe this is a horse that just took a little bit of a step forward in that race. Johnny V stays aboard here for William Walden, and William Walden's 22% going from all weather to dirt. That's a plus move for him. He's got a small barn, but he's very, very successful. He's winning at 18% this year with just 44 starts. And I mean, you mean to tell me you're giving me 30-1 on this horse? Like, I will take all of 30-1 to figure out, hey, this is a synthetic horse, darn. So I think that I'll take a shot here at Bless the Broken. I see 25-1 or 33-1 overseas, so I think we're gonna get all of that price. So I'll take a shot as maybe a horse that's kind of improving here. I did see Nick Feldman. I think he said that Good Cheer beat her by 8 lengths 2 months ago, but it doesn't look like Good Cheer's really taken any steps forward this year. So
Simply Joking beat her 2.5 lengths 4 months ago.
Oh God, you guys are just poking holes for me over here. But
I mean, 30-1, and I think she goes up from there. Because I think you definitely get the price on her, and your case is definitely not bad on her. I just don't think she's a win candidate, honestly. She's ran 7 times. She's the most race won. I think you've kind of seen what she is. I think she did get that synth pop, and comes back to her 101 Timeform, which is probably good enough to run third if she works out a trip, and Johnny V can do that.
Yeah, you basically took the words right out of my mouth. Kind of, we sort of know what she is at this point in her career, in time. So, I didn't know if you had anything else, Josh, but I did have 2 other horses that I thought we should touch on real quick.
Okay.
And they're right next to each other. So I know a couple of people who are big thoroughgraph people, and a bunch of them are talking about the 5-horse Quick Kick, who is a horse that I don't see it. I think the
Every
race
race, the Thoroughgraphs loves her. Every race.
they love quick kick, and she's just not fast enough. Any metric I look at, the race needs to completely come apart, and she's about the fourth or fifth closer I would most like to have in this race. But I thought it was at least worth noting. I know some very sharp people who are Thoroughgraph people. PDT, our buddy Mike, is in the next room over, and he is very high on her. So I think that's a horse that, if you are planning to pick 5 or something and you can afford that real cheap C ticket, not a terrible kind of horse to have on there, because if she wins, she absolutely blows this thing up. The other horse I thought was a little bit interesting is the 6-horse Ballerina Oro. We've been talking about Lucara, who we think would be the second choice in here. 2 back going shorter. Ballerina Oro was chasing down Lucara. Now, didn't have enough distance to do it, but she gets that distance tomorrow. And also it's Chad with Van Pratt up. This is a horse that seems to be trending in the right direction. And, she's not really a true closer in the sense, but I think this is the horse that, if you think that this gets a little spicy on the front end and comes apart, this is the kind of horse I want picking up the pieces late, somebody like a Ballerina Oro. I think there are some things to like here. But we'll see. We'll see if she definitely. I think, from what I see, she needs to take a step forward. But is a horse that you should at least just, if you want to toss her, fine, but you should at least have her in consideration. 10 to 1 is not the right price, though.
I would also throw Drexel Hill in that kind of conversation of kind of coming from the clouds. Again, I don't think she's fast enough. I don't think she's good enough, but she's worked well. She's looked right. She's lost to Simply Joking and Bless the Broken back at Fairgrounds, but she also is, she's the workout dream. She's been kind of the talk. I don't think she's quite there. I think the Churchill just seems to love Whit Beckman. I think he's a good-looking guy, so they just want to talk to him. But she's a good horse. I don't think she's quite where she needs to be, and maybe it's just the synth that I'm like, oh, it's Woodbine synth, so it's not real. If you run it Turfway, then we can talk about how good your synthetic is. But winning at Aqueduct, going the 1-turn mile is like, I guess. But she moved forward pretty well there. So I kind of feel like she has a underneath type of chance, and I think you get every bit of 30 to 1, if not 60.
Yeah.
I saw Ben Wilkie saying you might as well take a shot on Anna's Promise if you're going that route.
I won't, because Ed DeRosa is. So
no.
Oh man.
I'll have some words with Ed tomorrow.
Yeah. Also, while you're talking to Ed, if Ron Flatter's there, can you just say La Cheeserie to him and don't say anything else? Just La Cheeserie and walk away from it.
La Cheeserie.
Yeah. There's a Tony Kornheiser, orange guy on PTI. He has a podcast and he's a big fan. And it's a cheese counter down the street from his house. But if you ever watch a golf, God, now we're going down a real rabbit hole. If you're watching golf, you'll hear people yell La Cheeserie in the background. So it's he'll understand what it is.
So funny.
He'll buy you a beer.
Mark, what were you going to say?
Oh, no. I was going to say, what I was going to say really quickly is the kind of 3 horses I was sort of mentioning. I don't think any of them can actually win, but they may be those types of, a Drexel Hill type of horse, or or somebody like Quick Kick. If you're playing the Tri or the Super, those are the kind of horses that I think can fill out the bottom end of those types of wagers at a big price and really blow them up.
Yep. And if you throw Good Cheer out of them, I think that's the way to do it. Is like Good Cheer, not in the Tri, throw that one in, and then you can buy your way into the.
If you can get her out of the Tri, which I think, given how flat the race looks on paper, isn't that absurd to say. Throw her out of the Tri and get one of those in there. All of a sudden, you're talking, those 4 maybe even 5-figure Tri kind of things. So
yeah. And I would also do that in the Oaks Derby double. Is unless you love a non-journalism in the Derby, maybe you can get a little bit, but at that point, might as well just get your price on the win in the pool. I think if you throw Good Cheer out, I think you can really blow up those doubles, because I'm a nerd. Justify's double, the Oaks to Justify was $17 for $1. And I think you're going to get a better price than that you'll get a way better price than that if you beat Good Cheer. I think Good Cheer to journalism right now is $12. So it'll go up from there, but I don't think it's going to go way up. So I think that's a silly play.
Yeah, I think you can toss her, and I do like. So there is a price that I do really like in the Derby. So if you can get your price into your price, that could pay very, very well. So.
Yep, and we'll be live tomorrow night. We're planning on the same time, knock on wood, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, depending on assuming I get home on time. But so that might be a little fluid. But yeah, when Caleb is supposedly going to be back, so we'll see. We'll see if he makes it safe from
We
Red
believe
Rocks.
Uh-huh.
But Nick, before we let you go, because I'm sure you'll be lurking in the chat, but. You're
No,
talking
not
about
me.
playing this Oaks Derby double. Who you like in the Derby?
So I was going to literally borrow money from my wife, which is my money, on Japan Street until Japan Street came out. So I've kind of I don't have a real strong, I have this horse. I hope Nick's not listening because he's all over Baeza. I'm way, way, way against Baeza. If you look at what's happened, he's beaten one horse that's ever won a race ever in his career. And he is like the greatest horse in the history of the world if you're on Twitter. So I would be against that one. I don't believe the speed's going to be what we believe the speed's going to be, because we all think the speed's going to be so fast that they're just going to melt down. So I'm reluctantly kind of pointing at Citizen Bull as the one that's going to walk the dog up front and do a Medina Spirit type. I don't have real faith in like that's the one that's going to win, because I don't think he's actually that good. But when he goes and sets a 48-second half mile and just keeps running, it's like, okay, we should have seen that one coming. I also have to say that my wife and I were watching the replay of the Jeff Ruby Stakes, because that's how romantic of a man I am. And she has picked Final Gambit as her Derby horse. So if that one wins, you will never see me on Twitter. You will never see me in the chat ever again. My wife says I have to quit because she can watch 30 seconds of a race and say, look, I can pick a winner. Why can't you do this? Why are you spending so much time watching all this stuff? So if Final Gambit wins, I will be rich, mind you. I will have so much money on Final Gambit because I don't want to hear the end of it about how smart she is. But you will also probably never see me on social media ever again.
Did I ever tell you what happened with Caleb and Rich Strike?
No.
That story. So Caleb was at a derby thing, and his girlfriend at the time was telling, like, he was like, who do you want to bet? And his girlfriend like gave him like 4 horses, and one of them was Rich Strike, and so he bet the other 3. And he's like, I'm not betting Rich Strike. This one's got absolutely no shot to win. And yeah, sure enough, that horse won. But real quick before we go, Mike Stone asking, hey guys, off topic, but he's rewatching the UAE Derby. He notices the number on the horse doesn't match the number of the gate they start out from. Why? And that's
Watch
because,
Hong Kong.
Yeah, or watch any European racing. They draw the gate positions separate from drawing the horse number position. So the horse number does not match the gate position.
Yep. So here in the U.S., we do the same, and we usually color code them unless we're just absolutely idiots like Keeneland. But in overseas, generally they draw the gates separate from the horse numbers. A lot of that comes from the handicapping that they do, where the one horse carries more weight than the 12, 13, the lower numbered horses, and then they draw the gates. But yeah, so that's why those numbers don't match. But Nick, thank you for joining us. Where can people find you if they want to bug you about other stuff besides the Twin Spires leaderboards?
I'm in my bedroom, so you can come over here and hang out. We can drink a whiskey or something. I'm on the internet. If you're on a YouTube channel and you're watching a horse racing on YouTube, you'll find me in the chat section.
You also find him.
I am still in the Discord, but I got kicked out of Discord for some reason, so I have a different picture and a different name, but I'm lurking there as well.
I can unkick you out. We can make that happen.
No, Discord kicked me out.
So
I had to get a new one. Yeah.
Okay. You're a bad boy. Got it.
Apparently. The same reason I don't have a Facebook account was because I got thrown out because someone hacked in there, and so I don't have a Facebook. I don't have a original Discord. So that one will have to live on your screenshots forever.
Oh, it'll be there. Well, obviously, thank you guys for tuning in. We will be live tomorrow, like I said, same time, same bat time, same bat channel. And good luck, everybody. Make some money, and yeah, hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, Torpedo Anna loses. Well, not hopefully. Yeah, it's like you don't want to cheer, right? You want to see it, right? But you want to make money, right? Okay, I'm leaving.
Let's go! Where's the fucking line?